This joint meeting of the Board of Directors of the Town of Carefree, Arizona Utilities Community Facilities District, and the Board of Directors of the Carefree Water Company, Inc. will come to order. Please take a silent roll call. And let's go right into the agenda. Just before we start, I just want to congratulate the Water Company and Greg and CVL and Aiken Gardner for another award. So you received the, I guess, Project of the Year award by the Arizona chapter of the America Public Works Association in the environmental category, the $5 million to $25 million range. So congratulations. This is the third award that this project has received. So well done and well deserved. Yeah, you bet. Okay, agenda item number 1. Approval of the January 2nd, 2024 joint meeting of the Board of Directors of the Town of Carefree Utilities Community Facilities District and the Board of Directors of the Carefree Water Company meeting minutes. Are there any comments or questions about the minutes? So hearing none, I entertain a motion for approval. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item number 2, a presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 Town of Carefree, Arizona Utilities Community Facilities District, Carefree UCFD budget. Mr. Crossman.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Before we get into the agenda items, I'd first like to introduce the staff members that we have with us tonight. As is typical for our budget presentations, on my right, your left, we have Megan Orm, who is both the water company and the district accountant and controller. And then new with us tonight is our field supervisor, our new field supervisor, Manuel Jones, is in our audience tonight. And Manuel was very instrumental in developing the budget that impacted the field items. And so welcome Manuel to our meeting. So anyway, we'll go ahead and move on into the agenda items. What I'd first like to do is give you an overview of our budgeting process, because our entire agenda is devoted to budgeting for both the water company and the district. So the next 4 agenda items 2 through 5, will be dealing with the budget. And this is a brief summary of our budgeting process. Tonight, May 7th, you'll be asked to approve the proposed budgets for both the UCFD, the district, and the water company. And the proposed budget for the water company will include our proposed rates, fees, deposits, and charges. You'll also be asked to approve Resolution 2024-02, which authorizes a public hearing, which will allow our customers, residents, ratepayers to comment on these proposed budgets. Then, about a month from tonight, on June 4th, you'll actually be adopting the final budget. So what you're doing tonight is all proposed budgets. That will not be adopted as final budgets until the June 4th meeting, which again will include the rates, fees, deposits, and charges. So to delve a little bit deeper into each agenda item, agenda item number 2 will be a presentation on our proposed UCFD budget for fiscal year 24-25, the upcoming fiscal year. Agenda item number 3 will be a presentation on the proposed budget for the Carefree Water Company for the upcoming fiscal year, including rates, fees, deposits, and charges. Agenda item number 4 will be your consideration of Resolution 2024-02, which will approve the proposed, not adopt the final, but approve the proposed budgets for both the UCFD and the water company, and it will call for a public hearing. And then, if approved, agenda item number 5, we will hold the public hearing. So, are there any questions on our process for tonight? All right. If not, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, which is the proposed budget for the UCFD for the upcoming fiscal year. And then over the last probably 3 fiscal year cycles, we've started out our budgeting process with an update on the Carefree Water Consolidation Project. This will probably be your last update on the Carefree Water Consolidation Project because we are really substantially complete with the project. We have transitioned about 96% of the customers that we anticipated. 529 customers out of 550 have been transitioned over from Cave Creek to the Carefree Water Company. We do have 21 customers in the west side of neighborhood B that still need to be transitioned over. They are awaiting our improvements to the Peaceful Place booster pump station, which is the last item on this agenda. But once that is done, we are just about ready to get that out on the street and get a contractor to do that work. Once that is complete, we will be 100% complete with the water consolidation project. As you can see from the second line item, we've pretty much replaced all of the meters in the acquisition area. All the Cave Creek meters have been removed, and we've replaced them with meters that can be read by our Carefree Water Company system. So we've replaced 99%, all but 2 meters have been replaced over in the acquisition area. And those are the 2 Lowe's meters that they were just transitioned over in April. And those are 2 larger meters, and we'll probably be replacing those in the next 6 months to a year. Those are fairly expensive meters. All of the pipeline work associated with the water consolidation project has been completed. We've installed 26,000 lineal feet of new pipeline, just under 5 miles of new pipeline to support the acquisition of neighborhoods A, B, and C. And a new update item on this slide is our Tom Darlington water storage reservoir, which is about 97% complete. All we have to do is clean up some punch list items for the reservoir. The reservoir has been commissioned as of February 16th. We now are delivering water from the Tom Darlington Water Storage Reservoir to neighborhood A. And so we've been delivering waters for about 3 months now out of the new reservoir. So that's exciting news for the water consolidation project. And then the last item again is Peaceful Place booster pump station, which we are getting ready to put out on the street and getting ready to do improvements on that site. So just to give you some highlights on the UCFD budget, proposed budget, the budget does give us authority to make all of our debt payments, debt service payments, which total about $1.4 million in this upcoming fiscal year. It does also give us budget authority to complete our capital projects that we talked about in depth last year, the Peaceful Place booster pump station improvements, which we just got done talking about, and the Silver Saddle Gravity Zone pipeline improvement project, which we got about $800,000 worth of federal community grant money that we do anticipate coming in this next fiscal year. So just to delve a little bit deeper into the UCFD budget, this is the sources of revenue part of the budget, or half of the budget. As you can see, our beginning balance for UCFD funds is just over $3 million. Our sources of additional revenues, most of which will come from the water company, as is typical in all of our budget years. The water company is the revenue generating part of this arrangement. The UCFD just sometimes gets the money and then distributes it out. We will be getting about $2.2 million in revenue from the water company transferred over to the UCFD for our debt service payments, for our rent payment. Some money will be transferred into our capital fund so we can finish the construction of the projects that we talked about. We also have a contingency line item of $500,000 that will be used in case of emergencies, and we've included that under the capital program. The one other revenue source that we've included on this part of the budget is our $800,000 in federal community grants that we are expecting to come in next fiscal year. So in total, we have about just over $6 million in revenues available to the UCFD. As far as on the expenditure side of things, we have $33,000 in rent that we will be paying to the town. The town owns the building that we operate from, so we do pay the town rent. As far as our capital program, we do have budgeted about $3.5 million of expenses in the capital program, just over $3 million for actual public infrastructure improvements and $500,000 in contingencies. And then our debt service program, again, is about $1.4 million. We will be paying back our Series 2021 bond payment obligations, a capital advance amount to the town, and also our capital lease payment, our WIFA loan repayment to the town, which keeps the town whole. We only have probably 2 more fiscal years after this, and then the WIFA loan, or at least our repayment obligation to the town, will be expired. So, all said and done, we have just about $5 million in expenditures that we plan for the UCFD. So with that, that summarizes our UCFD budget. I'd like to open it up to any questions that the board might have.
Okay, no questions. We're good.
You're good?
Continue.
All right. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is the proposed budget for the Carefree Water Company, including rates, fees, deposits, and charges. And just a real quick budget overview. Our projected revenues for the water company are going to be increasing in this next fiscal year by about $300,000 from $4.7 million, which was our expected revenue in the fiscal year that we're in right now, to about $5 million. As a point of reference, when I started with the water company 12 years ago, our budget was about $2.3 million. So our budget has increased significantly from that point in time, a lot of which is attributable to the acquisition project, where we've acquired to date 529 new customers and soon to be 550 new customers, and that has increased our budget and our revenue significantly. In summary, for water rates, we are recommending a proposed increase in water rates of both base and commodity of 4.4%. This is consistent with the 5-year rate plan that was approved by the board in 2021. I believe we're in year 4 of the 5-year rate plan. This rate increase, on average, will increase the average residential bill about $5.50 per month. That's assuming an average water use per month for a residential customer of about 12,000 gallons per month. As an overview, we did decide to stay the course and to be consistent with the 5-year rate plan, even though some of our indicators were showing a higher increase in costs than 4.4%. As you can see from these next 5 line items, APS power, we're expecting to go up by about 6.5%. CAP charges for untreated water, 8.3%. Scottsdale treated water, we're expecting in November that to go up by 6.3%. Our general and administrative costs, those are our costs for payroll, for staffing, and for generally running the Carefree Water Company office, are going to be going up 8%. And then our replacement and maintenance fund is going up by about 10%. And those are the monies that we use to keep the water system operating on a day-to-day basis, and that Manuel uses to keep it operating on a day-to-day basis. So you can see all the indicators are showing that inflation is increasing at a rate higher than 4.4%. But we did think it was important to stick with the plan and go with the 4.4% rate increase as approved in the 5-year rate plan. Drilling down into specific line items, and with the first one being the cost of water, which is the largest item on our budget. The overall cost for water is going up about 4% to about $1.7 million. That's how much we pay annually to purchase water from the CAP and from Scottsdale and from other sources. And this includes the cost increase for purchasing water from Scottsdale and the cost increase for purchasing water from the CAP. So you can see we are kind of holding the line as far as increases in water costs. Our G&A budget, as we discussed, our general administrative cost overall is going up 8%. We have tempered that a little bit with our payroll expenses are only going up 4%, even though our payroll expenses includes a 5% COLA, cost of living adjustment for all employees. And we have added in 2 part-time staff, 1 field staff and 1 office staff, because our workload has increased. We've increased the size of the water company by about 25% with the acquisition project. And so we feel like we can support part-time staff members both in the field and in the office. What has tempered that, fortunately, is that our health, dental, and vision costs have gone down by about 44%. Fortunate for us, which is a reflection of our employee demographics. We've got a younger employee base, and we have a number of employees who have elected to entertain other options for health insurance, dental insurance, and vision, such as having other sources available or required to go to other sources. So that has helped us out in keeping those costs under control. Some items that have increased our budget in the G&A category includes water company insurance, which would be our general liability costs, and our workers' comp costs. Those are expected to go up 21%. And our auto expense, including fuel, is expected to be up 11%. All right, on our replacement and maintenance category, overall that is expected to go up about 10%. We do have additional R&M costs in the acquisition area. Our focus for this coming fiscal year is going to be on fire hydrant maintenance and repair, and we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. And also what has impacted our R&M, again, these are the costs that we spend to keep the water system operating on a day-to-day basis. We've seen significant increases in material costs and supply chain issues, which is kind of a rollover from the pandemic. It seems to never be ending. Reserve fund, this is our rainy day fund in case of emergencies. Our reserve fund balance recommendation right now is $1 million. Because we've increased our system size significantly by about 25%, I did do a new recalculation of what our reserve, or what I think our reserve balance should be. And my recommendation is that we need to grow that reserve balance, that rainy day fund, to about $1.4 million. Again, as a point of reference, when I started 12 years ago, our reserve balance was about $650,000. At that point in time, I recommended increasing the reserve balance to $1 million. And it took about 8 years to increase the balance to $1 million. And so my recommendation this year is to put away about $40,000 a year into the reserve fund for 10 years to grow that to the $1.4 million. So again, we're in the growing our reserve balance mode for a few more fiscal years to come. Our capital improvement program this year is down significantly. Last year, or the year that we're in right now, is about $615,000. This year, we have about $400,000 available in the capital fund. This kind of ends up being what's left over because all of our other costs we have to pay. So inflation, unfortunately, is eating into the amount of money that we have available in the CIP program. But we do still have a healthy CIP program. We are recommending to budget about $25,000 for fire hydrant replacements. That would be 5 fire hydrant replacements for this coming fiscal year. In the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about fire hydrants. And for technology in our SCADA system, SCADA is our supervisory control and data acquisition system. It's a system that allows us to go home after work at night and go to bed, and it automatically operates the system. So it's an important system. We did do some technology upgrades for the acquisition project, so this coming year we're not budgeting any money for technology upgrades. We are budgeting some system improvement funds for both meter replacements and capital programs and pipeline improvements. We will be replacing or using $50,000 to do meter replacements in our original service area, and then about $270,000 for capital improvements, including the Peaceful Place booster pump station improvements, the Silver Saddle project, and anything else that we might have funding available for, based on some priorities that were in your packet. Our capital equipment fund, we did a good job this year in not spending a lot of money from our capital equipment fund. So that's minimized the amount of money we've had to put into it for this coming fiscal year to about $10,000. But we do plan on having a couple fairly significant expenditures in the from the capital equipment fund, but the money is there. We do need a couple new work trucks, and fortunately the money is there with even just a $10,000 deposit coming up. The final category under our capital improvement program is water rights. We budgeted $46,000 for that, with $16,000 of that going for our NIA water payment. It'll be the next to last payment for our NIA is non-Indian ag water. It is CAP water. We'll have one more $16,000 payment after that, and then we'll be done paying for our NIA water. And then $30,000 is budgeted for our continued participation in the modified Bartlett Dam program, which we think is a very optimistic program for future water rights and water supplies. As I said, we have been focusing on fire hydrant, and this year Manuel and the field group have done an assessment of all of the hydrants in our service area, including our original service area and the acquisition area, to kind of triage them and find out what do we need to do to get all of our fire hydrants up to snuff. And you can see from that first line item, we've had a significant increase in number of fire hydrants that we're responsible for. Almost a 50% increase in fire hydrants. Originally in our original service area, we have 285 fire hydrants. In the acquisition area, we've added in 128 fire hydrants for a total now of 413 fire hydrants. The next five line items detail out the maintenance that we're expecting to have to do to these 413 fire hydrants. The first two line items are kind of typical maintenance items that we have to do every year, and that's landscape maintenance. A lot of times landscaping around the fire hydrants need to be trimmed and removed so that the fire department can have access to the fire hydrants. And then the blue markers are the blue reflective markers that you see in the street. A lot of times, for whatever reason, either Gary's pavement maintenance project removes them or paints over them, or they just by use go away. So those will need to be replaced. We've got 133 blue markers that need to be replaced, and 120 fire hydrants that need some landscape maintenance, which is probably a good thing to talk about if any customers and residents are listening to this broadcast. Just to kind of focus on the fact that fire hydrants should be visible from the road, and there needs to be a clear space around the fire hydrants of about 3.5 feet so that the fire department can get to the fire hydrant, attach whatever they need to, and to fight a fire. We will be going around and doing that type of maintenance for these 120 fire hydrants that have been identified. But if any resident wants to do that or wants their landscaper to do that, would rather have them do that instead of us, we would encourage that. It reduces our amount of effort, and then it's done the way they want it done, as opposed to the way that we might do it because we're not landscapers. So just a little side note. The last three items on this table are a little more, I don't want to say problematic, but take a little more effort. With the first one being isolation valves. We have noted in our assessment of all the fire hydrants that we've looked at, there's 33 fire hydrants in the acquisition area where we either could not find the isolation valve or the isolation valves are not there. And that means it makes it difficult for us to work on a fire hydrant because we got to be able to shut the water off to the fire hydrant somehow. And that's what the isolation valve does. And so those 33 fire hydrants are going to need a little bit more attention. We either need to find the isolation valve or we need to install an isolation valve. So we will be kind of triaging that as we move into the next fiscal year. We've also identified about 64 fire hydrants that need to be rebuilt or replaced. We'll start trying to rebuild those fire hydrants, and then if we aren't successful in doing that, we may have to move into the replacement category. We are expecting that a good number of those 64 might move into the replacement category. And then again, we have 5 scheduled for this year. We may have to roll those into subsequent fiscal years for replacement. We'll triage that and start with the highest priority and move our way down. So a significant amount of effort we're going to put in this next fiscal year to looking at fire hydrants and getting all of our fire hydrants up to snuff. And lastly, in the Carefree Water Company budget are fees, deposits, and charges, and some significant or more significant changes we have in that category, with the first one being service line installations. This would be for new development from the water main to the meter. We are recommending discontinuing the installation of what we call utility side service lines by the water company. You may recall, I believe it was in 2022, we recommended temporary discontinuance of this service because of staffing requirements. What that then led to was that anyone building a new home in Carefree would have to hire a private contractor to provide that service line from the main to the water meter. This process has been working out so well that we're recommending it continuing into the future. It frees us up to do other things that we need to do. The private contractor can come in and give them a specific cost to do it for their property. So we no longer will be offering this service as we move into the future. The second major change in this category is our water supply fee. We have updated our water supply fee, as you may recall. This was first approved by the board in 2022, and it is intended to acquire from new development monies to acquire new water supplies, to firm up our existing water supplies, our existing CAP water supply, and our use of groundwater with new water supplies. And that fee, we are recommending an increase of about 30%, based on new information that we've gotten on how expensive new water supplies are out there. The impact this has on a single-family residential unit is that water supply fee will be going up to $1,863, and for a multifamily unit will be $932. So those are the two major changes in our fees, deposits, and charges. And with that is the Carefree Water Company budget recommendation. I open it up to any questions that the board might have.
Yeah, Greg, I have a question on the that fee we were just talking about. So they also have to, for new construction, they have meter hookup fee as well. That's in addition to that $1,800.
Correct. There are two more fees, Mr. Chairman. There's a capacity fee, which is buying into the existing infrastructure that we've already installed. And so there is capacity for, say, a new residence to tie into that. We've already built it into the system, so they have to kind of buy into the system. And then there is also a fee to set the meter. So there are 3 fees. There's the water supply fee now, there's a capacity fee to buy into the system, and these are all one-time fees. And then there's what we call the meter set fee. So we'll be paying, once they build the service line from the main to the meter, we will then go out, they'll pay us, and we'll set the water meter out there.
Yeah, so the third fee that you mentioned, how much does that run? So this is about $1,800. The meter is whatever's in the paperwork here, I forget.
Yeah, the meter set fee is about $1,230. The capacity fees, almost $5,000. That's the largest of the 3 fees.
So new construction is probably going to cost $10,000 to hook up.
It's not quite $10,000. It's in the $8,000 to $9,000 category. And just as a point of reference, I just got done dealing with Cave Creek, and theirs is up to almost $12,000 now.
Okay, so about 25% higher than us.
Correct.
In that service line, I certainly understand why we're not in that business any longer. Is that common practice not to be in that business for a utility?
It is fairly common. You see around the valley. It was fairly unusual for us to, up until 2022, we did all of the utility side service line installations. It's fairly uncommon for utilities to take on that responsibility. It's something that we kind of did as a matter of course. It just became unwieldy to do that, and too much work effort.
And you build a customer for it.
And we build. And
you did.
The other thing that it brought up was that we had to set a postage stamp rate. So we said, okay, this is what it costs you for a service line. Well, some people, if you're on the same side of the road as the water main, we were collecting probably a little bit too much from those customers. If you were on the opposite side of the water main, we probably weren't collecting enough, but it all would even out. Now with the process that it sits, they can get a contractor out there and give them an estimate, and it's reflective of what they have to install, as opposed to our postage stamp rate, which kind of factored in as a peanut butter rate, and so we just had to spread it out to everybody.
Okay, well,
So
thank
we
you.
think it's fair.
Any other questions?
Yes. So if you're on the wrong side of the
You could be on the wrong side of the tracks and on the water.
yeah, so
water line.
are we then tearing up asphalt that Gary just laid?
Correct. Unfortunately, if we're on the far side, the water line is on the far side of the road, we will have to cut the pavement and obviously patch it. We do require crack sealing along the cuts so that we have as nice a surface as possible.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one.
Sure.
So this budget assumes all of the acquisition area customers are on board, full year?
Correct. It does.
So if I look at this and just do a back of the envelope calculation, look at the cost of water and look at the revenues, I've rounded the revenues about $1 million. I looked at the averages, but some people will use more, some people less. If you take the cost of water and factor a gross margin, it appears, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're still around 70% of covering debt service with those new revenues. Because I think that $20 is not in that number. If you add that on top.
In which number? The 5
When I look at the
million?
average usage of $130 a month,
That does not include the $20.
that does not include the $20.
Correct.
Okay, so if I add that in,
Yeah.
looks to me like we're still covering about 70% of the debt service incrementally.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done that calculation. I don't know that I got to that high of a number, but it definitely was in at least the 40 to 50% range.
Well, it's better than nothing.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay. Oh, go right ahead.
Nice presentation. Sorry, I apologize for being late. The traffic was terrific. With this new hookup of 3725
Mr.
What was it,
Chairman, Board Member Hatcher, that is on a per acre foot basis, and that's an annual demand. So that's why it was easier for us to put it in terms of a single family, actually set the fee for a single family residential structure, multifamily residential structure, because that's probably 80 to 90% of the development that we get. If we were to get a commercial development that comes in, we will ask them to estimate what their annual demand will be, and then their water supply fee will be based on that annual demand times $3,727 per acre foot.
And that's about what you showed us once before, what an average home would consume in a calendar year. Was it about that 1 acre foot?
No, an average home, rule of thumb, is about half an acre foot per year. And that's what that SFR fee is based on. That's at 3727 times 0.5. Actually, the true number is about 0.44 acre feet per year for a single family residential structure.
How many homes do you think that we have potentially, or land we have available to build new homes that would go through the process of a new service line installation? I heard a number the other day of 400. Did I hear that from you, John? I mean,
probably not too far off. I would say we're probably about 70 to 80% built out. And, the thing we need to consider is that if 400 is the right number, we don't know when those 400 will be built out. All of the low-hanging fruit, as far as lots go, have been developed. A lot of what is left are more challenging lots to develop. And so whether they ever get developed or not, we don't know.
we mentioned the number about $8,000 to get water service up to someone's home. So I see that single-family residency, you have 1863. You had the meter fee. I think that was $960.
$1,200.
$1,200.
$1,230, yeah.
And then there was a third item,
That's the capacity
fee for joining into the program.
Right.
And how much was that?
That's about just under $5,000, 49.
Oh, okay. So that's what. Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't listed here.
Yeah,
So that's where you got the 8.
right.
Okay. Thank you.
The sum of those three
And that
fees.
sounds like it's pretty competitive relative to some of the
Yeah,
other communities.
it actually is. It's probably very competitive.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should consider modifying one of those ingredients, like the capacity fee or something.
Mr.
It's
Chairman,
not-
it's not a bad idea, and maybe, take a look at that and see, what other communities are charging, and there is a basis for calculating those. It hasn't been done in a while, and maybe go
We
back.
we should look at that,
We
especially the
calculate
capacity
that.
fee, if we haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, it's probably something we should look at every few years,
Yeah.
just to be fair to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. It's basically to be fair to everybody else who's already.
It will help offset
Mhm.
inflationary costs for repairs, et cetera, for the work that you do. Otherwise, it comes out of the other sales tax revenue. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I think you could add that calculation to a major remodel. If you're gonna take a house down and put a home double its size, the existing water meter might be a 5/8, and the new water meter might be a 1 1/4. So you can see that the demand would be considerably more. So I think that there's an opportunity to increase that 400 number that you're projecting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I've hesitated to do that, especially with remodels, and because we do have a lot of remodels, and you can almost get into, if it's obvious, you're doubling the square footage of a residential unit, but not all remodels and renovations are that obvious. And you get in the argument of, are you really increasing the water demand? And so it's a difficult discussion to get into, and it's difficult to try and quantify, you know, how much increase in water demand would a renovation or increase in a residential unit cause. So I'm somewhat reluctant and hesitant to split that hair.
Well, I like the idea of saving the money because I'm involved in that kind of work. However, you know, if you take an existing house that has a fixture count of 30 and we're doing a new house that has a double the fixture count, you can pretty much estimate the increased demand on that.
Yeah, maybe that fixture count is a metric. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg, didn't you tell us one time that in the previous presentation that the town is now 100%, we have the digital meters on all the homes? I know, because I think the homes, the 520 homes we didn't have them, or they were old, and we updated across the board. So are we all digitized now, if you will, if that's the right term, with those new meters?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, pretty much all of the meters that we have in our system are, you know, intelligent meters that we read via drive-by. That's kind of our standard that we drive by, and we can electronically pick up the meter readings. We also offer the optional service of ion water, which about 10 to 15% of our customers have chosen to pay for it as a paid for service, where your water meter will communicate with the cloud on a daily basis, sometimes 4 times a day, and you can log in and see what your water usage has been from the previous day. So not all of our meters are you know, cloud capable, but definitely all of them are drive-by capable, where we actually can read them. The meters are actually very smart also, and the ones that aren't connected to the cloud, we can go in there and download data. So up to, I think, 90 days worth of data, we can see what the hourly usage is if we go in there and download that data. So if someone has a high read and they go, I have no idea why I use that much water, we go in, we do what's called a data log. We download that data and we provide them the graph that says you've got a continuous leak, or someone resets your irrigation system to water twice a day. And they said, oh, we thought we were setting it for every other day. And so we can give them those kind of, so yeah, our meters are very intelligent. They're very high tech. But depending on what level of technology you're referring to, we have different levels in the system.
And that's just due to age, why we have different units?
Well, it's really the 2 services, the ion water service, where the meters are connected to the cloud, or the drive-by service. All of the rest of the meters are drive-by, where we can actually go by and pull out readings, monthly readings from a vehicle. Those are the ones that, if we want to download the hourly data, we have to physically go out there and connect the computer to the system and download that data. Whereas the ion water customers, that automatically goes to the cloud, gets reported to a computer system, and you can access that either with your personal computer or with your phone.
Just out of curiosity, and I'll drop the subject, but if they were all able to provide a data feed to the cloud, how much time and money would we save from you guys driving around the entire community and picking up that Bluetooth signal for each of the homes? Is that a cost savings potentially, or not?
Definitely, when we went from manual reading to drive-by reading, it saved us a ton of time. You know, probably it took, I don't know, maybe a week to read meters. That it went down to 1 day to read meters. Now with the acquisition, we've gone back up to about 2 days to read meters, 2 not full days. We can try and get it done in 1 full day, but it's a lot of meter reading in 1 day.
How many men do that?
1 person driving around doing it over 2 days. We kind of split it up into 2 segments, and we've probably got 2/3 of a day, 1 day, and half of a day on bit over a day to read meters. If they were all cloud-based, it would be more of a touch of the button. So we could save about probably 10, 11, 12 hours of staff time
Per month.
per month.
Okay.
Not a huge amount of savings, but enough.
Enough. Is this something that warranted any additional studies? Is it worth it or not?
You know, it's fairly expensive to install the ion water. It's about $250 to $300 per meter. The customer pays most of that. It would be a significant capital expenditure investment to do that as a water company. That's why we've offered it as a voluntary service. I don't think it would pay for itself, but that tends to be the way that metering is going. So as we move into the future, it may be something we need to consider just because technology is forcing us that way. Could be. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was thinking the same thing. Just add $250 to every new meter
Yeah.
and include the ion water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Greg.
All right. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 4, which is your consideration of resolution 2024-02. What this resolution does is it approves the proposed budget for the UCFD. It also approves the proposed budget for the Carefree Water Company, including our rates, fees, deposit, and charges, and it also orders a public hearing, which will be the next item on the agenda if this resolution is approved, and there's a possible motion on the screen.
Okay, so our next step is to consider this resolution,
Correct.
and then we'll have a public hearing.
Correct.
All right. So next up on the agenda is Resolution 2024-02. So this is a joint resolution of the Board of Directors of the Town of Carefree, Arizona Utilities Community Facilities District and the Board of Directors of the Carefree Water Company, Inc., approving a proposed district budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025. Approving proposed Carefree Water Company rates, fees, deposits, and charges applicable for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025, and ordering a public hearing on such proposed budget and rates, fees, deposits, and charges as approved. So I would, is there any discussion about this resolution before we entertain a motion? So we entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-02. Second? Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. So next up is a public hearing. So we'll open up a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 Carefree UCFD budget and the proposed FY 24-25 Carefree Water Company budget rates, fees, and charges. Do we have any public comment? Okay, none. So we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Crossman, is there anything else?
No, thank you, Board. You can move on to agenda item number 6, which is adjournment.
Okay, can I have a motion for adjourn?
I move.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good
Board.
job, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you.